Yeah. Welcome back to the All-Purpose Pod for an All-Purpose Life, wherever you are today and however you are listening today. Call me Mr. U and Football Talk with Bo. Thank you again for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week. We're your weekly mirror check before you go change the world. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, that's Twitter. Download, subscribe to our shows wherever you enjoy your podcast. Thank you again for joining us, following us, subscribing to our shows. Good morning, Bo. How's it going, brother?
Good. How about you, man?
Good. Long weekend, but some fun stuff though. But you good on your side?
Absolutely. I'm always excited about this show. So anybody watching, grab your coffee. Let's talk some.
What'd you say? Now we're ready to roll. But yeah, it's gonna be probably all NFL talk. But I had a crazy weekend, man. I was at a business conference, and it's essentially for entrepreneurs building business, building attitude and mindset and stuff. And in settings like those, everybody kind of you expect everybody to be on the same page because you're kind of trying to do the same thing. You're trying to accomplish financial freedom. You're trying to build a legacy for your family. All the things that usually entrepreneurs are doing that for. But it's not hard for that employee mindset to creep in. It's like, okay, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my check on Friday at 5. I mean, it's those mindsets are always present.
Yep.
But I think about that because I'm thinking about value this morning. I think about it for the past week or so too. Just thinking about value, and I remember those times. Maybe you can recall this when you were a little kid. Didn't we have the biggest dreams in the world when we were little kids?
Of course.
And we think about stuff that was like off the charts. Like our parents couldn't even sign on. They couldn't co-sign on that stuff. It was so big. Like, okay, calm down, son. Take it easy. Try this first, and we see how it goes. They wanted to have all the money in the world so they can solve all of the world's problems. They wanted to have, be a big star, or they wanted to live in a huge house. They wanted to slay the biggest monster. They wanted to climb the biggest mountain. Our dreams are so big when we were little kids.
Yep.
As we get older, it feels like the dreams get smaller. I don't understand how that's happening, but they should be bigger because you have more information now, more knowledge, more wisdom. Your dreams should be getting bigger, right? But collectively, just generally speaking, not anybody in particular, but it seems like the dreams are getting smaller as we get older. That's really weird because it should be because now you should have more of a confidence because you've been through stuff. You tried, you failed, you adjusted, you learned things. So your dreams should be a lot more broader now. Now we're looking at people who are calling themselves entrepreneurs that are in the business space. Look at them like idols now because they're doing the same thing that we as kids used to do. Dream big. Like we're all on the sidelines watching them dream big and not doing anything for ourselves. Watching them. They start a company. Everybody's on social media networking sites trying to get a job with them because they're dreaming big. So we want to follow them.
Yep.
But we don't dream though. We want to follow and attach ourselves to that smoking hot train, but we don't want to dream big ourselves. And it speaks kind of value to me. I'm wondering what do we consider valuable in this time and place that we are in this country? What's valuable to us? Because we have so much in our hands, but it seems as though we don't really appreciate what we have. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. And I mean, the dream part of it is definitely a thing. And it's not, I think why some of those dreams shrink isn't because of information. I think they shrink because of information. Because a lot of people aren't going to be an entrepreneur, right? They're not going to take the risk of being that person, right? Because you can you can create a lot of success with it, but you can also fail real hard. And so a lot of people won't necessarily take that step. And so then they start to shrink the dream to whatever job allows them to have. So now they're not dreaming about having a house on MTV Cribs and, doing things like that. Now they're like, you know what? I think next year I can buy a boat. And so it's sort of tailored into a to fit a lifestyle of they're going to be employed. They're not going to take the risk to get beyond that. So then they shrink their dream to fit into the box that they've created for themselves. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, if you're not going to step out of that box and, do something on your own where you potentially actually have the ability to, create that success, then yeah, I mean, you've essentially created that environment for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So one of the things that we dropped on our social media platform, I believe on Twitter specifically for me, is just one of our poll questions. What do you value that most people undervalue? We're going into sports, so calm down, guys. We're going to get there, but it's a philosophical question. What do you value that most people undervalue? You can drop your comments on our YouTube link, which should be on our social media platforms all over the place. You can jump on YouTube right on the show, on the live show, and drop those comments. What do you value that most people undervalue? When I was sitting in the conference all this weekend, I mean, there's a lot I can't really go into because it was private, but I see how we look at ourselves and how we face a daily attempt at reaching these goals. I mean, some people came in, and they didn't dress for the situation. They some people were scantily clad, if you will. They had on 3-piece suits, ties, and decked out. It's like all that in one place. It's amazing to be, on the same path with the same goal, same teacher, same instruction, same end game for the most part, and approach it so totally different. And it just kind of spoke to me all weekend. Okay, do you value the environment that you're in? Do you value the opportunity you have, the people that you're around, whether it be your team, the mentorship that you have in place? Do you value it? Do you really appreciate it? I mean, something as simple as, being on time for a phone call, being on time for a Zoom call or a meeting, something as simple as that. I mean, there was a time where early in my business days, I had a Zoom call with this young prospective female young lady, and we had a schedule. I mean, she seemed to be pretty sharp and on point and everything. And when it was time for the call, she turned her Zoom camera on, but she had on a bathrobe.
Oh.
And her hair was soaking wet. Just came out of the shower. I mean, I confirmed the meeting twice before that appointed time.
Sure.
Turn the Zoom call, turn the camera on so we can see it. Okay.
I mean, she was on time. She was on time.
No, she was not on time. She was late. In my mind, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. She was late. And you was wet. And you wasn't dressed. It's all about value, man. And we're going to talk about this more as we go into the show with the topics that we have. But when you don't value something, it shows.
For sure.
It shows how you feel about the privilege or the opportunity, and it shows. I think as a whole, we don't really value what's important that we do have. We complain about what we don't have. So that's our poll question. That's one of our poll questions today on our social media platforms, specifically on Twitter for myself. What do you value that most people undervalue? What do you value that most people undervalue? Share those thoughts. We can't wait to hear from you guys. All right. So, brother, where are we starting today? Are we going into the heavy hitting stuff, or are we going to start with some other things before we get to that? Before we get to that good this morning.
I mean, we might as well build to it, right?
Build to it. You're saying that you think you're gonna win the challenge. That's why you're saying you build to it. That's why you're saying that. You got some good stuff coming our way. So you may very well win. But who knows? I may have a third round TKO surprise you.
Hey, it's only you only got to have one swing, right? As long as it connects.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Shake Back Media Group. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Good morning. Thanks for joining the show, showing us some love. I appreciate that so much. What is? Look at this. Already starting this morning already. Always starting with the zingers. Yeah, I smile with my wife. Wouldn't you? Come on, man.
Right?
All right. Here we go. Here we go. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what this means.
Oh, okay. So
I don't think I even have. You talking about me?
no. He's talking about me. So I made a comment on Twitter yesterday because Musk is out there trying to burn Twitter to the ground, right? So
I heard about the bird going away and an X instead. I don't know
right?
how.
So what I did is I made a joke yesterday. I was like, so does that mean every time we post on Twitter, we're making X videos, right?
Oh no.
So then I was like, oh, I guess I'm getting closer to that dad bod pod coming.
Oh no. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, he's just chiming in on a comment I made yesterday. But
I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand bird versus the X thing either. I don't get that either. I don't know what's happening, but
and it's why in my post yesterday I was like, oh, Professor X is trying to kill the bird.
I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to enjoy this ride while we can.
Yep.
That's my approach to this. We're going to just have fun while we can. All right. So let's go ahead and work out short. So we'll go ahead and save the for those of you guys who are wondering what we're talking about, let me give full transparency. Bo and I have been talking for probably about 3 weeks about the DeAndre Hopkins situation before he decided to go to the Titans. We were talking about it because we were trying to figure out, okay, where do we think he should go? It's the best place for him based on his age, all of the details and situations, his yardage, his injury history, and the team he's going to, and how ready they're made to make an actual run. So we talked about that for several weeks, and we're like, you know what? Let's go ahead. There was some point of contention that we had, and we didn't agree on this one thing in our offline discussions. And I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do 2 different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I would have do the Pats perspective, which I thought was the best place for him long term. You felt the Titans were the best spot for him, so we're going to go ahead and break it down.
So at some point in the show. I didn't necessarily feel like it was the best spot for him.
No.
No. Let me finish. It was the best spot out of those 2 spots. I thought there were some other teams he had a better shot to win, but out of those 2 spots, I like the Titans better.
Well, you and I agree with that. Yeah. I didn't think either one of them was better than the one that you and I were talking about, which I don't know if we're going to talk about it today, but maybe you can put a pin in that and we can bring those names up. It's not going to matter now because it's already been decided. But I think it was another team that we thought were a lot better fits. I'm not going to say the Giants guys, so don't even worry about that. That wasn't even on my mind. It wasn't even a thought. There was other teams other than those, the Titans and the Pats, that I thought were better fits. But so both going to give you the Titans perspective, why it was a good fit for him to be there, and I'm going to give you the Pats. We'll see who wins this battle. But let's go ahead and jump into the situation with the running backs. I think that's one of those hot topics right now. I heard from what I heard, I think it was this past Saturday, they had a Zoom call to kind of discuss their labor contracts. Was it Saturday?
I believe so. Yeah. I think Eckler was who put that together, I believe.
Okay, so I guess we just passed that. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. If you guys got thoughts on it, please share. Totally fine. But what we found out was that they had a meeting. I think some guys in the room, Austin Eckler from the Bolts, McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, D. Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon, and I guess a host of others were all there discussing potentially holding out, I guess, with some of the talk that they were having, I guess, talking about their situation. And, I think Nick Chubb had some comments kind of along the lines of, hey, there's not a whole lot we can do. We can go out and run for 1,000, 1,200 yards. And then the next year they say we are worn down and then become expendable. So that's kind of where he was going with that. But initial thought, did you hear anything about this Zoom call? Did you know anything else?
No, I didn't hear. I haven't heard about the outcome of it yet. But I think you're right. I think it was supposed to be over the weekend. But yeah, I haven't heard anything from it yet. But it makes sense that they would, kind of band together here, because when you have kickers having a higher average salary than your running back, it does not. It's
not great for morale.
It doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong. A kicker can win you a lot of games, but
Not as many as you think.
Well, they can have a deciding point, right? Like they can come in at the end, whereas you need that running back all day.
Exactly, because these guys are not kicking all day.
Exactly.
If you know what I mean. Those situations where you have games where the kicker is kicking the whole time, it's universally considered not a good thing, right?
Exactly. Well, and you got to be able to get him within kicking range. So that offense got to be doing something.
You would hope so. Those guys are kicking 65 yarders the entire game. It's not a good thing. Their legs, or for morale. So totally fine on that part. All right, so one of our other poll questions that we have on our media platforms is, what's the running back's next best play? What do they do in this situation? I mean, people might say, now I know some of my people, I know my followers pretty well. I know where they're going to start. How they're going to answer that question. Get out there and play it and shut your mouth. I know what they're going to say. But we're talking to everybody else aside from these people, right? Because they have, I mean, these are still human beings with families, and they are people who, they got feelings too, right? Kickers got feelings. Yeah, these guys got feelings too. And if you think about it, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, not much. We touched on it a little bit. You know, that the running backs, they take a lot. I mean, they get beat up. You know, they run into people they get run into. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, that's their job, no doubt. But you guys start thinking about things differently now, because now the game has changed a little bit. You discussed that a little bit last week. You can go there if you want to, but the game has changed a lot. And it's like, okay, so now you guys are thinking about more guarantees now, because if something happens, like, okay, that same family that we aforementioned, they may be in some trouble because of a lack of guarantee. So those kind of things really matter. I look at all of the numbers that I mean, this running back thing is really crazy, only because I'm kind of in the middle of it. I'm not 100% on one side of this situation. I'm kind of in the 60-70% range when it comes to some of this, because I know that, you know, the running backs have been a bit undervalued. I mean, I played fantasy football for like 15 years, so I was in stats. I mean, it's not a badge of honor or anything. I'm just saying that I pay attention to more stats and numbers than I ever have being a sports fan. I'm looking at every little detail, I'm talking about everything, players against the run. I mean, I paid attention to everything because it made me decide who I would trade for or who I would even draft. Now, that's not what everybody's out here doing. Some of these fantasy football guys, they toss a coin, blow on dice, and pick somebody. They have no strategy whatsoever. I'm more of a numbers guy. I'm about crunching the data. So I was doing a lot more details. And I seen production versus contract. I seen it a lot more because I was in that realm, approaching the way I was. But these numbers, the tags and stuff, it's kind of telling. I want to read some of them off so you can kind of hear why we going this route this morning. Okay, so the tags for the quarterbacks. I'm going from 2017 to now, 6 years ago, right? The tags for the quarterbacks, $21.2 million in 2017. It's 32.4 now.
Yep.
Tags for the wide receivers, 15.6 that same year. Now it's 19.7. Okay. Tags for the O-line guys, even 14.2 in 2017. Now it's 18.2.
Yep.
Tags for the D-line guys, 16.9 to 19.7. Not a big jump, but it's still a jump.
Yep.
Tags for the cornerbacks or DBs, 14.2 all the way up to 18.1 this year.
Okay.
All that was from 6 years ago up to now. As you can see, all the numbers increased, except for the running backs. 12.1 6 years ago. It's 10.1 now. How do you explain that?
I mean,
because I don't know what to do with that. Those numbers. I read them out, but I don't know. I'm asking for help here. What do I do with that?
Yeah, I mean, like it's tough, right? And I think some of it is because they get hurt so much. I mean, and it's terrible that they're not getting paid, because they're the most likely to have long-term health issues from getting beat up all the time. They're going to have knee replacements and stuff like that because they just got absolutely smashed their whole career. Yeah. I mean, at this point, like if it's going to continue on the route that it is, you know, you're going to have kids that are like, I want to play football, but I'm not going to be a running back. Right? Because I mean, you can make more literally anywhere else on the field.
Absolutely. That's strange to me, man. That's kind of hard to understand.
I mean, from a business standpoint,
I mean, does the kicker even have a tag number? I don't know, but I didn't even see anything for the kicker. But the running backs, like that's strange that that's the only position where the numbers went down.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody they got any idea why that even happened, or they have any insight behind that? Because I honestly don't know.
Yeah, all I can figure is because they're just devaluing that particular position because they're kind of moving away from it being a running game, right?
I don't understand that.
I mean the league.
People pretend like they want to, or they delude themselves into thinking they want to have an air raid kind of game, but you don't want to have that. No, you don't. If anybody said that, I'm gonna call them a liar straight to their face. I don't believe that you want air raid every game you watch. I don't believe that at all.
No, I mean, but the thing is points get ratings, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to see one of the old Giants versus the Bears 7-3 just grinding a game out. And I mean, back in the 80s, right? Like they don't.
I do as long as we win.
Yeah, but by and large, that's not what people are tuning in for anymore. Like they want the excitement of the points, right? And so it's
okay.
It's a balance because back then there was 5 channels, and so on a Sunday you were watching that game, and now you have entertainment in your hand all the time. And so if the game isn't exciting, people move on, right? People have the attention span, of a gnat half the time. So
hold on. When you see the highlights of the, like, even if it's not your favorite team, it doesn't even have to be the NFL highlights. And
sure.
You see that quarterback drop back and that rusher's coming after him, right?
Yep.
He dishes that ball off to his right side.
Yep.
Running back catches that. Juice a guy, gets down the sidelines, and he's running, and all the DBs are falling down to his feet trying to catch him. He's creeping over them into the end zone for a touchdown. That's not exciting to you?
No, of course that's exciting.
It's glorious.
Of course that's exciting, but that happens like once a game, and it does. And most of the runs are 2 to 5 yards.
That's not all that happens.
No. I'm saying most of the runs are somewhere in that 2 to 5 yard range. That's why, they'll break a random one for 50, 60 yards, whatever. But that's not generally what's transpiring. That's why everybody's yearly average is they're carrying they're averaging like 3 or 4 yards a carry. That doesn't happen because you're busting off big runs every time you touch the ball, right? So you got to keep in mind, although some of those runs are exciting, like you can't hardly beat the Beastquake. He literally knocked every guy down on his way to the end zone. So I mean, there's obviously those runs, but there's a lot of runs that are for loss or 2 or 3 yards.
It's funny you mentioned that. I would give it a mention something along the same lines. I mean, people in Seattle are still mad about the fact that on a play that was a critical play in a Super Bowl, they decided to throw instead of let Marshawn run it in for a touchdown. It's untimely. Bose has jetted out on us, but
no. I heard you. For whatever reason, my battery died in my camera.
Live podcasting is fun. If you guys got to send free t-shirts to us, live podcasting is fun.
But to answer your question, I actually liked the play call. I did not like the execution, but I did like the play call because it was second down. There was one timeout, right? And when you're going to throw a slant, your thought, worst case, incomplete pass. Now, Malcolm Butler made an incredible play on it. And, what do you do? But you look at that thinking, okay, it's an incomplete pass. So then you have 3rd and 4th down, you have a timeout. So you can run it both times because on 3rd, you can run it, you can stop the clock. And then on 4th down, it just is what it is, right? Like you can call whatever you want and hopefully it gets in and whatever. But to throw a pick there was, terrible. But at the end of the day, I mean, the play call made a lot of sense schematically. Execution was horrendous.
Maybe it's an old school versus new school thing, man. But I'm sorry. I'm not feeling that. I think
Well,
running back.
so if he gets stopped,
Situation.
so if he gets stopped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during that particular season, he'd only been able to get that 1 yard successfully like once out of like 20 attempts. So, I mean, it's not like he was normally like 99% of the time smashing that. Like he actually had a hard time getting that 1 yard during that season. So all the rest of his runs were good. It just happened to be in those scenarios, or maybe it was like 12 of them. I don't know, something like that. But the percentage wasn't high. And so you have one timeout, you get stopped. There's not a lot of time left, right? So you're telling me you're going to try and run it all 3 times with time running out and one timeout? Like you got to throw it at some point.
Yeah, but if they ran it with you running to set the pass up, is that the idea? I never heard anybody passing to set the run up. you run to set the pass up, right? So if they threaten that with enough frequency, people may buy into that, and then you can make a pass.
Well, I mean, they were stacking the line. It's not like they weren't expecting the run. Like if that pass,
I know that's true.
So I mean, you know, they had been running down the field anyway. So I mean, they'd already. It's not like they didn't run all day, and then they were just like, "Oh, hot damn, let's try it out." Like
they wouldn't have got there, they hadn't been running, right? Let's just say it.
What's that?
They wouldn't have got that far. They hadn't been running because
no, of course,
of course.
No.
It's not about Seattle, just about the whole picture. Because I kind of feel like we kind of confusing 2 different situations. Like
no. I'm just saying in this particular one, because of clock management, it made sense. If there was more time on the clock, absolutely not. You smash that through all day, but you do got to take one shot with the pass because you're just running out of time. So which is why I said I like the play call, hated the execution. But yeah, I mean, Marshawn was killing it all day.
Well, you're a much smarter man than me because I thought that the one play was the way to go. But that's okay, really fine. But I think to some degree with this whole conversation, we're confusing 2 different situations. Now, all of our Giants peeps out there talking about Saquon declining a few deals allegedly because of guarantees. Talked about it a little bit last week's show. But I think that's separate than the whole running back situation because it's not exactly the same thing. Because if you allegedly got some deals made or offered to you and you declined them because you didn't like how they looked, that's different than some of these other situations. Excuse me, like for example, Aaron Jones took a pay cut. Yep. He had about almost a little over about 1,120 something rush yards, 10th in the NFL. Right? Yep. It's like he took a pay cut just to stay with the team.
Yep.
Now look too. I watched more Packers games last year than I probably have in a very long time. I don't know how they were on TV so much here locally, but I saw a lot of Packers games last year, and I saw what he was doing. I mean, I used to have him in fantasy, so I come to expect that from him. I expect 1,000-yard season because he was helping me win championships. You know what I'm saying? But I seen that, and he carried when Rodgers was struggling, which nobody really wants to talk about that much. When he was struggling, especially in the end zone on 3rd down, he was struggling a lot. 4th down too, right? Aaron Jones was carrying that team. They didn't get down the field if it wasn't for him. Guys like I think MVS was on the team then. He was dropping passes constantly. It was horrible. The young kid Watson, everybody loves him. He was dropping a lot of passes too. It wasn't really Rodgers' fault completely, but they were dropping a lot of passes. Aaron Jones was saving their bacon. No question about it.
Yep.
Facts, right?
Yep.
He took a pay cut. I mean, he was 10th in the NFL, took a pay cut just to stay on the team. Dalvin Cook, same situation. I had him on my fantasy team, so I remember this really, really vividly. He had 1,100-yard season for like 4 seasons.
Yep.
I rolled with like 2 or 3 of them before I quit playing fantasy football. Almost 1,200 yards every season for 4. He got outright cut.
Well, I mean, even on that front, right? Like you got Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
Who was hurt, right? He got hurt last year. And but before that, he was a rushing champ, twice, right?
I don't know.
I don't think it was consecutive years, but I think he was a Russian champ twice. But then last year, he gets hurt. He misses half the season. But he was so dominant at the beginning of the year that it took the rest of the league 6 weeks to knock him off the number 1 spot. And they couldn't find a trade partner for him. Like, you got to be kidding me.
They didn't want to pay him.
Well, but he still has a year on his contract, right? So they were looking for a trade partner because the Titans were in the offseason seeming to want to just blow this thing up because they were looking to move some guys. And so now no one wanted Derrick Henry, who's coming. Yeah, he's coming off an injury, but I mean, it was 6 weeks before another guy caught him, and he still finished in the top 10, and he didn't play half the year. You don't want that production?
Not that big. They want that. But what, man, 6'3", 275 pounds, whatever it was. Yeah, they want him back there. Of course, it was about money. If it was about injury history, that's all. Most of the guys that's joining other teams wouldn't even be there either.
Sure,
they got as much history as anybody does.
Well, but that's the thing is, like, if you were to pick him up, because at this point you could have got him for it wouldn't have been a huge requirement as far as like draft picks or whatever, and then you would have had him for this season because.
Yeah, but after that, it'd been like a rental. Oh boy, you leaving us again?
I mean.
What happened?
Man, I don't know. I'm having all kinds of struggles today.
Give me that T-shirt. Live podcasting is fun. I wear mine every single week. Live podcasting is fun because it certainly is. I'll wear the T-shirt. I promise you I will. All right, but D. Henry, I think this is about money, man. This is not about production, injury history. That's a part I don't really don't understand because I mean. I won't go into the quarterback situation because that's going to be a whole rabbit hole that I probably shouldn't even think about going there because we got too much to talk about today. So I'm going to leave that one alone. But running backs have value. Got some of our folks out here saying, running backs are severely underpaid.
Yep.
Especially how short their careers are, which I totally understand that.
Yep.
Never let my brothers play running back. Okay. It doesn't bode well for the future, but
right.
I mean, but I get it though. They take a lot. I mean, mess around. If your head's in the wrong place when you get hit, you could be on the ground and people wondering about whether your career is over or not. So it's not an easy job. I totally get that, but that's why I think that there has to be a discussion, maybe not on Zoom amongst yourselves, but it had to be a discussion about guaranteed money and whatnot. I know that everybody in Hollywood was going into an uproar, which I totally didn't know about until I found out by accident that the writers and the actors are on strike. I had no idea.
Yeah, I heard about that yesterday. Actually,
I'm totally out of the loop on that. And on top of that, I don't watch news, so that's a whole different story. But I don't know if the word strike was mentioned in the Zoom call with the running backs, but they could be thinking about that. And
sure.
People can tell me, and they probably will, especially on Twitter or even might hear on YouTube, telling me that the running backs, need to go out there and play, that their value just right. They shouldn't be complaining. They should sign them tags and get out there and play so they can win their fantasy football championship. Y'all ain't fooling me.
Yeah, right.
Y'all. I see y'all. But if they did say the word strike and they decided as a unit, because unity is power, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
If there is that word gets mentioned and they jump onto it and they decide to go ahead and do that, tell me how this league would look. Would it be as fun and entertaining as you originally thought it was? Because they're that important. As a matter of fact, I can't think of anybody on the team that's not important, to be honest with you.
No, of course.
All those tag numbers I was telling you about, somebody thinks they're important. O-line, the edge rushers, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, wide receivers. They're all important. Running backs are right there with them, and they deserve to be in the same category as the rest of these. Mm-hmm. Maybe the numbers won't be exactly the same. Okay, that's fine, but it shouldn't be a decrease in the tag number. That's the problem. So if that's so, and they decide, you know what, we're going to strike.
Yeah.
Give me a mental picture. What does the league look like then?
Well, I mean, then it really comes down to
good situation. I don't care how you slice it. If you a scrub, you a scrub, baby. It ain't gonna work out.
true. I mean, it really comes down to how many of the guys actually follow through with it.
I'm talking about this is just a hypothetical.
Yeah. So I mean, if they can get everybody, including like bench players and stuff, to like buy off on this, then yeah, I think it could really do something. I don't know how that works with the NFLPA because they have that union already that does the negotiating. So like usually you see a union strike, you don't usually see a strike within the union. So it would be interesting to see how that works.
Okay, different word then. Okay, let's take strike out. Let's add it. Oh, my leg, my knee.
Yeah, you can totally do that.
Been hurting for a while. I don't think I can go, coach.
Yep.
Then what? You can't make them go. So what happens then?
Yeah, no, and then
we all on these hurt.
Yeah,
I think I tweaked my knee.
That would be weird to see the league that way, for sure.
It'd be movie type stuff for sure. But what if it did happen?
Every set's an empty set would be interesting.
Kickers be out there taking passes in the backfield. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much. And you'd see less linebackers, and you'd see like 5-6 cornerback sets.
We got to keep going, man, because we got a lot more to do and some fun stuff. Okay, so if we have time for it or not, but question: are the Jets legit now that they have Aaron Rodgers and they got Quentin Williams back there? Are they a legit contender? I looked at the defensive stuff. Last year, I didn't even realize that they had one of the top defenses last year. I had no idea because I don't watch the Jets. That's why I didn't know. Not why. I didn't know that. But one of the top defenses, 4 fewest points, led in yards allowed per play, I think 4.8, something like that.
Yep.
Above average against the run. I think they were dominant against the pass, too. You could thank Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. I'm going to a whole different place with that one. How did nobody else get DJ Reed? You saw what he did in Seattle. How did nobody else think about getting him? How did the Jets get him? Everybody just passed him by. Never mind. Tangent. Sorry about that. The Solid out there doing solid things right now.
Yep.
They added Chuck Clark, which I always thought was great in Baltimore. I loved him.
Yep.
Carl Lawson. He was always serviceable. So in Cincinnati. So I always thought it was great. So they got like a top 3 unit out there, probably defensively wise. Brought back 9 out of their 11 starters on defense. I mean, they're looking good. So now all they did was add some offensive pieces. Are they legit contenders now, do you think? Or is there some more work to be done somewhere?
I mean, so it's going to be it's tough to say. So if you have MVP style Rodgers, they're definitely a contender, right? Because they were almost a playoff team last year with complete incompetence under center, right? Like they did not have a quarterback at all last year. So they had guys that took snaps, but they didn't have a quarterback. So, so I mean, even if Rodgers isn't MVP Rodgers, as long as he's not what he was last year, they're a playoff team. And then once you're a playoff team, once you're in the mix, then you got to win 4 games, right? So, I mean, I don't think they're the best in their division still. Although I do have some questions at, what's going to happen with the Bills there. But do I think they're a number 1 contender? No. Do I think that they could make some noise in the playoffs? Absolutely. It really just depends on how much Rodgers is going to gel with his team. The thing that is encouraging about it is he's done the most amount of off-season work with a team that he's done in years. And he's playing with a little bit of a chip, which, as you watched him through his entire career, those are his best seasons.
Okay. I like all of that stuff. I think I'll be surprised if they have 10. I think 9 games easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 9 games is easy. I ain't talking about on paper. I'm talking about just like you said with Rodgers and just the extra element that he brings to the table. There's some games they probably shouldn't win. I think they can win with him.
Yes.
9 games, wild card is where I'm at with it. Not making a big prediction because I don't really do that too much, but I think that's kind of where they are. Keep moving forward. All right. We'll spend a little bit of time, a short amount of time on this Dak interception promise that he made.
So
I don't know. I'm trying to stay out of it. I ain't scared of you, Cowboy fans. Please don't get me wrong. I don't fear any one of y'all.
That's all right. You can come at me. It's cool.
It's my show. It's my voice. I say what I want. You know what I'm saying, but I don't want to make this messy. So I'm gonna let Bo mostly talking here. Bo doesn't have any dog in the fight. Out of the division, he's a Seahawks fan. He don't care about the Cowboy fans. So
it's
go ahead,
true.
Bo.
It's true. I mean, I appreciate Cowboy fans. That Romo fumble on the. It was a fun game. But anyway, so the thing with Dak is, if you look at his numbers, they're almost identical to Kirk Cousins, right? And why Dak gets so much more hate is because he's got the star on the helmet, so he's got cameras on him nonstop. But I mean, if you legitimately look at stats, him and Cousins are the same guy. But for him to then come out and say Super Bowl or bust, well, now you're putting a lot of pressure on a team that already had a lot of pressure anyway, right? And I mean, the Eagles are still the better team in that division. So that's a huge thing to come out and try and say, and then to turn around and be like, hey, I'm not going to throw 10 interceptions, which he's only done twice in his career, been under 10. And the last time he did it, he threw 8 in 2018. I don't include 2020 because he played 5 games and threw 4 interceptions. So he's on pace for like 15 anyway. But so you mean to tell me that somehow miraculously he's going to not throw a ton of them? He's going to figure out what color jersey his guys are in. And then every team that plays him also hears this. So you created your own bulletin board material, and these guys are going to be coming after that ball because they want to make you look dumb. Like, his comment had so many bookmarks on it. It was unreal.
This is going to be ugly, isn't it? I kind of see it over. This is going to be an ugly situation, isn't it? Because if he pulls it off, even if you don't have a star in your helmet, even if you don't, there's certain things that you don't make the coach's life harder than it has to be.
Exactly.
Now, somebody said I read it this morning because I've been out of pocket for the whole weekend, have no idea what was going on. But apparently, he was talking about tip interceptions. I'm like, okay, so how do you solve that? So in 2 ways, I know you can solve that. Promise that your wide receiver is going to make the catch every time and not drop it.
Yep.
Or have it deflected, or you're going to run more.
So is he talking about his team? Is he talking about his team tipping it?
No, yeah.
Or just tips in general?
No, he's talking. Apparently, the interceptions he was talking about were tipped interceptions, and that happened more than it should have. I'm like, how do you promise it's not going to happen anymore? Only way you can really do that is to run more and pass less. And even then, it's not really a real promise. You're just talking for no reason. Why do you even say anything?
That's the thing.
This is what I'm trying to avoid because I get ticked off. I'm not the whole Cowboys Giants rivalry. It's not what it is to me. What it is to other people. It's not that.
Sure.
I don't care that much.
Yeah.
I just want us to win and be relevant and do what we used to do. You know, I don't care about the whole Eagles versus. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to just win. I want to win a division. I want to win Super Bowls again. Right? Yeah. That's all I care about. These guys haven't won since 1996.
Yep.
I got married this year. We're going into our 27-year marriage. That's how many years we've been since I won Super Bowl. So to me, I'm like, so get mad at that. Come at me if you want to, but be ready for the fire. I'm gonna bring it back on you.
Yep.
Even though you got a legacy and history, and you got 5 championships, 6, whatever it is, whatever. That's great. I'm happy for you guys. But the whole point is that you should not be talking 27 years of what should be considered futility. If you're the greatest thing to since sliced bread, we should have seen that in less time than 27 years ago. So all I'm saying is just don't be talking. Play. If you're going to beat us and sweep us, be 2-0 against us in the division, that's fine. We got to eat that part. That's okay. But why are you talking, though? That's what I don't understand. Why are you speaking? Why are you telling us what you're going to do and what you ain't going to do? And it's been 27 years since you did anything. Why are you talking? That's the part. That's the only part about this that really gets on my reserve nerve. Why are you talking at all? Well, be quiet, including Jerry Jones. Be quiet.
Yep.
Play. Let your play on the field show it. Because in big games, in big spots, when it matters in playoffs, I mean, I can't even name all of them because I don't have enough time on the show for that. We got stuff to do here. In the big moments, you come up short.
Yep.
You don't show up. You ain't there. Zero. You ain't there.
I mean,
you can't get up.
They don't
you
show up.
Everybody knows. Everybody, even including Stephen A. Smith, everybody knows you ain't gonna win nothing else after that.
Yep.
Because you always
they don't even show up in December.
Huh?
They don't even show up in December, let alone playoffs.
I'm not saying that they're bad. It's not even about bad or good. I'm saying you shouldn't be talking. My only advice to him, if you listen to our show, which is probably not, why are you talking? Don't say anything. Just play ball. All of y'all that wear a star, just play ball. Stop talking. It's been 27 years.
Yeah,
it's been like 10 years for us, excluding last year. I don't want to talk either. But 27, you need to be on mute. You need to be on mute. Mute.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like it's they haven't done anything forever. He basically has the same playoff record as Romo now. And
that's good.
Right? So it's just man, it really yeah.
We gotta move on. Let's go. Move on. All I'm saying is just stop talking. That's all I'm talking about. Stop talking. Just don't say that. Just play. Okay. Let's get down to it. Titans versus Pats. We talked about it a lot over about almost a month now. We've been talking about what's the best spot for D-Hop. Who's the best NFL free agent out there besides Dalvin Cook. Other names are kind of like O-line guys, some DN guys, some situational edge rushers. Not much to talk about, unfortunately, but we thought he was the best of the crop of free agents this year. Next year, he'd be in the top 15. That's how many guys are coming out next year. It's a long list.
Yep.
But Titans and Pats. Okay, so you had the Titans conversation.
Yep.
I had the Pats.
Yep.
I felt like D-Hop's best long-term perspective was with the Pats.
Sure.
Titans. How you want to do this? We're going to go first and read the whole thing out?
Go ahead. Lay yours out.
Trying to intimidate me, but it ain't going to work on my show. All right. All right. So the advantages for D-Hop being with the Patriots, it's already a done deal now. It's kind of it's hypothetical now. But one of the first things was salary cap.
Sure.
Now, somebody who's coming off an injury, I mean, he's 31 years old, had about 1,200 yards in the last 2 years. Not great, okay? Let's be real about that. But when you're coming back to a brand new team and trying to get your football career kind of restarted, it's good to know that the team you're with has cap money so that they can bring in people to help you accomplish the goal, right? Common sense stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, D-Hop was kind of adamant about having a long-term deal with his new team. The Titans are strapped for money, and they don't have a lot of capital in the draft and salary cap realm like the Patriots do. The Pats are financially disciplined. We know that they had $16.9 million that they could have threw all of it at D-Hop. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that, but not in his mind, probably he's like, I want the money. But they're trying to be smart with their money because they think about the future and spending the money wisely because they obviously intend to make moves. Mm-hmm. That should have been a comfort to him. Probably wasn't, but I thought that was a good thing. Stability at quarterback. Now, despite the fake news stories, Mac seemed to be a longer-term option than Tannehill, from what I can see, from what I'm hearing, right? Because I mean, he doesn't have a vet to throw to him like Tannehill, but Tannehill doesn't have a long-term pitch in Tennessee. As a wide receiver, you want to know that somebody's going to be throwing you the ball. And because of Mac and where he is now, age-wise, and the kind of year he had last year, he's going to throw to D-Hop a lot. He's going to get a high percentage of the passes. So D-Hop can rely on that to get his career restarted, so to speak, and kind of get back to doing D-Hop things, something he needed at this stage of his career. So he got a chance to shine, maybe even get another contract out of it because Mac's going to trust him more than everybody else because of everybody else. So he had a legit option at quarterback for years to come. And on top of that, he kind of bets on himself again because his career be tied to Mac. So if Mac doesn't do good and D-Hop doesn't do good, they're both done after about a year or two, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's also unrest in the Titans quarterback situation with them drafting Will Levis.
Mhm.
Now it's like, okay, and I heard about Malik Willis being discussed in trade. So you got unrest of the position. It's not really clear who's going to do what. That's not a good advantage for somebody who's coming off injury and trying to get settled into a new team and kind of refresh his career. Running back situation, I think it's better in the Pats than it is in the Titans. Derrick Henry's in his last year of a 4-year deal. Like we talked about earlier, he's talking about he's in his Zoom caucus room talking about money. I don't think the Titans going to pony up, or they wouldn't even have his name even in trades to start with. So it's probably not going to happen. And if he doesn't return in D Hop's last year, which I think would be 2025, if he doesn't return, it's a whole different team. You starting from scratch in a lot of ways.
D-Hop's contract's only 2 years.
Yeah, no, but Henry's only one.
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson, is locked in at the number one spot in New England. So and he's a dual threat. So they got options out there, and that helps D-Hop, exponentially in the offense. The Pats need to have a wide receiver number one. They needed to have one. I mean, they got Kendrick Bourne and Juju Smith-Schuster, and they got Devontae Parker. I mean, they got pass catching options even with Mike Gesicki, which the guy was like, oh man, I didn't even see that happen. Like, oh wow, these guys got a nice little team. And they got Hunter Henry, which I'm not sure. I think he was a cut candidate, but not sure if he's going to still be that or not. But they got room to spread production around and more mouths to feed. In this case, it's a good situation. Because like I was telling you last week, if everybody's going to you, it's kind of like what happened with Devontae in Las Vegas. If everybody's going to you, defenses recognize that, they cue in on you, and now the secondary guys have to make hits. They got to make plays.
Yep. In
this case, all those names I just named, not big names, but Kendrick Bourne, these guys know how to get open, and they catch passes, and they make plays after the catch. So you got a whole lot of options. But now the defense has got to be kept honest now. They don't know where the ball's going, who's going to do what. All these guys are capable of doing something with the ball. So that makes him a lot more freer to do things in the offense, which I think is really a good idea. In Tennessee, he'd have been the main guy.
Yep.
And he'd have been getting everybody shut down corner every single week.
For sure.
Offensive scheme. I like Brown and Reef at the tackles. I thought that would have been helpful for the offense, giving Mac more time to kind of see the field. Make plays. I think when he has time, he does a lot better with it. So I thought that'd be helpful. I don't feel the same way about the Titans O-line, but you're probably going to talk about that a little bit. The Pats changed their scheme, which is a good thing. After McDaniels left for Oakland, they use more 3 wide receiver sets now. I think that's his advantage as well. Mac is really good in play action. They didn't use it very much, but he was very, very highly effective in play action. I think their playoff chances is better if the defense improved against their division, which was not great last year. So that's an issue. They had coaching upgrades too. Mac struggled under Matt Patricia, which anybody would, because it's Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
So that, I think, being under Bill O'Brien is going to help them. Honestly, he had a great reputation, but he was better than Matt Patricia by far. Yeah. And the Pats need to have a number one wide receiver, and their defense. Their offense is exponentially different. They expected to win 7 games. I think they can win more if he was there. And he's a couple more because he's great at the 50-50 ball. He's dominant in that area. I think that'd be helpful. So, lastly, so I went so long on, but there was a lot to say. Historically, wide receivers in Tennessee who need to have a career resurgence don't do very well. Names like Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown was traded. Who traded A.J.?
Yeah.
Okay. I did my very best on that one.
Yeah.
Let's go Titans.
All right. So, with the Titans, again, his career's his contract's only 2 years, right? And one of the things he talked about before going anywhere is he wanted to be the guy, right? He wanted to be the number one target, which he definitely will be there. And he wanted a team that is a potential contender. And the problem with the Pats is they're going to finish 4th in their division. And so just because that division is good enough, those teams are going to cannibalize each other. So you're not going to have 4 teams out of that same division go to the playoffs. So he has a better chance to get into the playoffs with the Titans, who still has a decent defense. They obviously have a running game, right? Henry's going to come back. And even if he has a less than amazing year, he's still going to rush for 1,000 yards just because he's an absolute beast. So it's going to be good for him as the number one target. Obviously, he's going to get the best, the best corner, but he would have with the Patriots also, right? Like wherever D-Hop's going, he's going to get that shutdown corner. One thing that is kind of crazy is Vrabel has ahead of D-Hop signing. He had almost as many touchdowns in his career as his receiving room did combined. He had 12 through his career, and his receiver room was so young. There's 14 in that room. So D-Hop is definitely the dude, right? So they do have a good running game. Their offensive line it's not the best, but because Henry is such a force, it does keep that front seven honest because he can run dudes over, right? So they can do a little bit more with a little bit less of an offensive line than other teams can. That being said, the defense is still pretty solid. So there's things that'll work. I think the biggest element of it is the only other team in that division that's really a threat to them as far as getting to the playoffs is the Jags, obviously. And the Jags are a question mark because they have not necessarily been consistent. So do I think that the Titans probably make it in as a wild card? Yeah, probably. But they have a shot to take the Jags down just because they haven't had consistent gameplay. Whereas if he was with the Pats, you're telling me that they're going to beat the Bills. You're telling me they're going to beat the Dolphins, the Jets. I mean, come on. Like all of those teams are better in just about every phase of the game, but certainly under center.
Are you done?
Yeah, I figured, the exclamation point there would work.
I'm not sure how to determine who won this thing. Guys out there, you guys still listening to our show? Can you help us with this? Got my buddy over here. He said Tannehill and Henry going to be going after the year, which is pretty likely.
They will.
Taking the Pats. Well, I got one vote for the Pats. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean,
one zip.
So
I don't mind winning like that, but
so the thing is on that front right there to answer this question is Tannehill and Henry will be gone next year. D-Hop probably will too. They'll probably actually trade him. So who knows where he's going to go? Because they're going to end up doing just a full reset on this team.
You don't know that.
Oh yeah. They have to. They have to. Like
I don't see that at all. Why? Look at who I just named. All them guys don't have 1-year deals. Mike Gesicki just got there.
No, like they're going to start building parts of their team. It's also going to kind of see how that receiver room reacts this year. You both won. Yeah.
D-Hop made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, he may stay for the 2 years, but it's only 2. They actually have an out after the first one, if I remember reading that right. So I mean, like they have
verify that. That's important.
Yeah, I'll have to look later today. I think there's actually an out after this season anyway, but it is only 2 years regardless. But I mean, Tannehill's definitely gone. Levis, who knows what he's going to be. And then of course Henry's gone. So then you have to find somebody for that backfield. I
don't know.
Yeah, well, and they were trying to do the reset this year. They were looking to move Henry, and then they were also looking for a trade partner for Tannehill. Not that anybody was going to be interested in that. Although I was
surprised about the Titans or the Pats.
The Pats.
That could apply to either one of them.
The Titans could have done the restart this year but they were actually kind of trying to, because they were looking at potentially exercising the out on Tannehill's contract, and then they were trying to move Henry. So I think if those things would have happened, they wouldn't have been in the D-Hop discussion. But because they kept both of them, the D-Hop thing made sense for them because, again, their receiver room was so young. They need that leader in that room to help bring those guys along. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2-year contract. I think this is more of it gives him a chance to be able to get into the playoffs, or an easier path to the playoffs. And it gives him a number 1 receiver option. So if he can get his stats up, then he can go back to fighting for a bigger contract. Whereas that'd be a harder thing to do in a division that everybody in that division has a pretty good defense.
Okay. Well, I don't know how we find out how we won. Maybe we can both share this on our Twitter feeds and see if we can get that.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever comes. I did my very best with this one.
Let's
go ahead and jump into our rapid fire questions.
I think Herb's kind of right, though. I think we both won, but D-Hop probably didn't.
We had some other options where he could have went, and that's a whole different show, different situation. But he probably should have picked anybody but these two. But okay,
pretty much.
We can go ahead and close the show with our rapid fire questions. We love to have fun and have some games going on at the end of the show. As usual, I never tell Bo what the questions are going to be. He's totally shocked and surprised. We're keeping that tradition going today.
All right.
Questions. These are all yes or no questions. But if you have some insights, you can go ahead and drop them in. We have time for it. All right, ready?
Let's go.
Number 1, does Saquon start the season for the Giants?
Ah, man, I hope for the Giants fans he does. The way he's been talking, I don't think so. He's really been alluding to potentially sitting it out. I think it'll be a mistake if he does. There's a real chance of all of them that of all the guys that are in contract type stuff, I think he's the most likely to sit, and only because it's things that he's come out and said over the last 2 weeks.
All right, sounds like a no. All right, can Aaron Rodgers take the Jets to their first Super Bowl in decades? I'm not talking about this year now. I'm just saying, period. Can Aaron Rodgers take the Jets to their first Super Bowl in decades? And I mean decade. I think what 71,
something like that. Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, I mean, I think he can get him there on paper, but he has to get.
You're hedging all the way, man. This is the yes or no. You hedging now? Yes or no?
Well,
he takes him to the. Why ain't saying win it? Say take them there. Can he do it? This man.
He can. He can. I
mean,
the team's good enough, but he has to get through the championship game, which has been the Rodgers Invitational, which really means anybody who plays him goes to the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. Next question, bro. Next question. Can Eric Bieniemy fix the Commanders' offense?
No, it's Washington.
Fair enough. Is Brock Purdy the long-term answer for the Niners?
The way the team is constructed, sure. Yeah. I mean, it could work. Anybody could run that offense.
I don't even know. What does that mean? Now, hold on. What's that mean? That last comment. What do you mean? Anybody can run that offense. What do you mean?
Every quarterback that took a snap in that offense had success until Christian McCaffrey started taking him. So as long as it's not a running back taking snaps, they can win games.
Oh boy, we got some. Let's keep going. This will be rapid fire.
I do like his skill set, and it fits what the Niners do. Mostly, I was just trying to get some of my Niner fans spun up, but
you did that just now. I'm going to help you out by moving on. Ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Is Justin Fields the answer for Chicago?
To be determined. We got to know if we got to know if he can throw the ball. Like, obviously he's a dynamic runner, and his offensive line was atrocious last year. So he was basically running for his life half the time. So they fixed some of those things. I think we probably know by mid-season whether or not he's that guy.
Okay. The Bengals lost both of their veteran DBs. Can they survive without those two guys?
It's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. They're going to need a lot of production.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. Yes, I think they're going to lose some of those closer games because they won't get the stops they used to.
Okay. Can the Chiefs repeat?
Absolutely. Yeah. You didn't
No
see,
question.
huh?
No question. They can repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right, cool.
Well,
Wilson
you
be
said,
better?
can they, not will they, right?
Well, yes, no questions.
No. No. I'm just clarifying. You said can they, not will they, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They?
Yeah. So they can. They can. Yes.
Sorry. The question should have been, do they repeat? That's my question. I'm sorry. That's the actual question.
So do they repeat? I mean, they have the tools to. There's a lot of games between now and then. I wouldn't do a definitive yes, just because I like what the Eagles did in their offseason. And I mean, the Eagles are the better team in the NFC. So
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, no worries. So can they? Yes. Do they? I'm not ready to put that on them yet.
Okay. All right. Will Russell Wilson be better, or will he be all better now that he has Sean Payton? Is it all the problems are fixed now? He's all good now? Sean Payton? He's back to being Russ
with
cooking?
a yes or no? Come on, man.
Yes or no? That's what I want.
So I can't answer that with a yes or no.
Yes, you can. Is he all better? Yes or no?
Is he going to be better than last year? Yes. Is everything better? No. It's like, what are we talking about?
With him, not with the team. I'm talking about just with him.
So what?
No.
I don't think he's going to be prime Russ, but he's going to be better than he was last year.
Somebody else, Herb agrees with you. He'll be better than last year. That's not saying much, though. Oh boy.
Yeah, no. So he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, but he's going to be closer to 10. So,
Naheem Hines is out for the season.
Wow. Hadn't seen that yet.
I feel like I've seen this like 4 times.
Oh, yeah?
He seemed to be out for the season. This happens pretty often.
No, I just mean I didn't see it this season.
I feel like I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
All right. Will Deshaun Watson bounce back to top 10 status this year, obviously?
I mean, for Browns fans, he better, because that team is set up. Like that team is able to win, so he better be what they spent money on.
All right. Last question. Dalvin Cook is the best fit for the Dolphins. Yes or no?
Yeah, he'd be a great fit for the Dolphins.
Okay. Injury history, age, everything. Best fit.
I mean, who else they going to go get?
Kareem Hunt. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on.
They're not going to pay money. They're not going to pay that money to go get him. They'd wait another year for Hunt.
You think he costs more than Cook?
Yeah.
Man, you didn't drink enough coffee this morning. That's crazy.
No. Yeah, you know why he does? Because he's still on a team.
I thought Kareem Hunt was a free agent. I had him in the list last week.
Oh, is he? I thought he had one last season.
I thought he was a free agent. All right, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that one. We got some suggestions about next week's show, though.
Yeah. Oh, top 10 QBs. All right.
Write it down, Bo. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Keep me on so I won't forget.
Yep.
Let's do that.
I got
top 10 quarterbacks. You got I got me. Guess what? Daniel Jones gonna be in that list. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Man, we're not even going on the air next week.
I put him in the list. I'm telling all y'all right now. If I put Daniel Jones in that list, it's gonna be for a good reason. Okay. It's gonna be Giants bias. It's gonna be for a good reason if he's in that list. But he probably is though. So okay.
He's definitely not on that list.
He probably isn't though. But you never know. We can go ahead and walk through it. Man, guys, thank you so much again for joining us on our show. Definitely appreciate your support. And however you're hearing our show today, however you're listening, thank you for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week with your weekly mirror check before you change the world. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Twitter. Thanks for downloading our show. Please support Football Talk with Bo. You can find him on his. What happened to your stuff? Where'd everything go?
It's actually just a setting.
Tell me how to find you, man.
It's setting on your side.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do a thing. Okay, go ahead and tell me how to find your show, man.
So on YouTube, you can find me at Football-Talk, and if you're on Twitter, it is Football Talk with Bo. And then, of course, we're getting close to the season, so we are going to do Pick'em Championship again, and so join our league and see if you can keep me from repeating as champ.
Ooh,
let's do this.
Like a challenge. I
You
love
know
it, guys. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Coach out.
Take it easy, guys.